Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Ready to revolutionize your franchise with AI? Franchise Now empowers franchises with advanced AI solutions, automatic processes, and enhanced marketing strategies. From personalized customer interactions to predictive analytics, we help you harness AI to drive growth and efficiency. Transform your franchise with the power of AI. Visit Franchise Now to learn more and take your business into the future. Now, here's your host.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio, where we bring you the latest insights and stories from the world of franchising. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today we have a special episode. We always have special episodes, but today we're delighted to have two distinguished guests from Redbox Plus Dumpsters franchise. Joining us today is Jessica Bisher, the owner of a very highly successful Redbox franchise in Bucks and Montgomery County in Philadelphia. And I also am lucky enough to have the president of Redbox with us today as well, Sean Foley. And it's an honor to have you both. Want to really unpack this opportunity, right? I know there's some real magic behind it, but really on the front, very simple idea, right? So love to start with you, Jessica. Let's start with your journey as a franchisee. Tell us a little bit of how that all started. I know you have a really great background. I know, MBA from the Wharton School, so you're putting that to work, right? Tell us a little bit of how did you wind up here? What was that journey like?
Yeah, sure. So I do have my undergraduate degree from Notre Dame in civil engineering. And I worked in construction out of school for about 5 years. So I was really deep in the construction industry. I worked in Chicago, Minneapolis, Philadelphia. And I thought, oh my gosh, this industry is crazy, right? I can't imagine raising a family in this kind of industry. And so I thought, well, I better go get my MBA. So I got my MBA full time, which was a big decision, of course. And I got pregnant my last year of my MBA. And, while I was at my MBA, I was doing entrepreneurial stuff. I was dabbling in some stuff. And then when I got pregnant, my risk tolerance shifted. And I thought, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to go get a job near me here in Philadelphia. And so I went that path for 3 years, and I had 3 kids within 3 years. And for once, I was not pregnant or nursing, I was pregnant or nursing for 4 years. And so when I finally was, and I thought, well, what do I want to do for myself right now? And I knew I had always wanted to start a business. That was always on my list. And so I started looking at different paths to owning a business and running a business.
Wow. Like, I didn't know if you were going to stop there or not, but now I'm like, wow, a lot going on. And I kind of I feel like you should have that on your LinkedIn resume, everything you just said, because that's so important. The scope of that is just, there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
You're a very busy person to pack all that in. But okay, so you thought franchising might be that opportunity. So tell me a little bit about how did that door open? I mean, obviously you've been in the business world a little bit, and you're really well educated in business. What did you think of franchising? How did you kind of come through to the franchise industry and start looking, and what led you to Redbox?
Yeah. Actually, I would have never pegged myself as a franchise person. I'm a fairly independent person, kind of, I can do things by myself type thing, and, but certainly at that point I had 3 kids under 3, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, how do I take this step? And so I started listening to podcasts on franchising, actually, just like this, and I started thinking, oh, maybe, I got really interested in it. And then I worked with a franchise consultant who I heard his name on a podcast I was listening to. And I said, I need to work with that guy. And I found him on LinkedIn. I connected with him. And he, I always joke that he knew me better than I knew myself. Like, it was crazy how quickly, and how helpful he was in the process. And so once I did that, things started rolling, and I looked at a couple different options. Certainly had an interesting path to finding Redbox, just in that we were about to purchase an existing business down in Florida. So I was going to relocate my family. My husband was going to get a new job. We were going to buy a flooring business down there. And it was March 13th, 2020. And my kids were with their grandparents. And my husband and I were literally driving to the airport, and things just started going crazy. If you remember that Thursday. And we said, well, we better not get on this plane, because what if we can't get back to our kids? And so we never got on the plane. And then everything happened with COVID. And we thought, oh my gosh, we're crazy for trying to relocate our family to Florida. And so I worked with my consultant, David. I said, what's over here in Philly? And he showed me Redbox Plus. And within maybe a month and a half, I was signing on the line. It was very quick. As soon as I heard Redbox Plus and the idea, I moved very quickly on it.
Well, tell me real quick, succinctly, like, you're pretty smart. Like, you'll see things and probably recognize. What was it that you noticed pretty quickly about it that said, this is innovative, like something about the business model?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so part of it is just my construction background, right? So I was familiar with the idea of the need for a dumpster and a toilet. And so then you put the two together in one package. And I was just like, oh great, amazing. And it's patented, like, sign me up. That'll get my foot in the door, super easily in the sales process. And then I've been, I have a construction background. I'm very drawn to the non-sexy industries, the needed industries. And so I loved that aspect of it.
Wow. I'm just thinking about the three kids under, like, in 3 years. Like, I had two close together, and I thought that was a mistake. We should have spread it out, been more strategic. Anyway, all right. So your locations in Bucks and Montgomery counties in Philly, they're big counties, lots of people, lots of growth, lots of construction and all that. So good from that point of view. But you're one of the top franchisees, in at least at your point in time in growth. Tell me a little bit about what you think the reasons are for that. Like, what would you share as some of your key reasons for being one of the top franchisees?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd probably point to a couple things, right? So I have very high standards for myself. That's the first. That's kind of self-explanatory. I also really make a point of listening to my business intuition. That would be the second, which I'll talk a little bit about. And then the third is just my parents and the way that I was raised. They really gave me this. So I grew up 5 kids in a, 1-bathroom house. And we loved debate. My parents are both lawyers, so we loved debating, right? Everything was just like craziness all the time. And they were the most persistent people I've ever met. And like, there was always a way to get something done. And so they really, I think I take for granted, like, what they built into me, which is kind of crazy. But as I reflect on it, I'm like, oh my God, that was my mom. My mom did this to me. My mom made me like this. But in terms of the business intuition, I guess I would say this, right? So I started with 1 truck and 40 dumpsters. That's kind of what the starting package was at the time that I started. And that was, $500,000, right? So I'm like, here trying to convince my husband, like, let's put $500,000 into this and let's do it. But very quickly, less than a month in, I realized I can't run a business with 1 truck. There's no redundancy. It's not going to work. Right. So I got the second truck, got the third truck a couple months later. And within about a year and a half, I was at 5 trucks and 150 or so dumpsters. The last 2 trucks and ED dumpsters came because I acquired another Redbox Plus near me that needed to sell for various reasons. And so I acquired his assets. And Rob, actually, mind you, I was at that time, so I'm like a year into my business, I got pregnant again with my 4th kid. And this purchase opportunity came up, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of crazy for thinking about doubling the size of my business right now, but I'm going to do it because I think it's a good deal. And here's the business intuition is if I'm about to have a baby, right, I need to get myself out of this business. I need to make it non-reliant on me. And so I need to have a business that's big enough to have enough overhead to do that. Right. And so like it was really this drive to build a business that was big enough to support overhead so that I could start trying to get myself out of the day to day.
Yeah, that's like good business training, right? And that's like you don't always it seems like when you're saying it, it seems common sense, but when you're new to business, it's not so much common sense to think the way you're
Right.
talking, right? Which is
Right.
partly, I think, your background and in your business, but also the franchise model, right? The idea of bringing you in, onboarding you, training you, supporting you through that. So tell me a little bit about the marketing and sales engine, because that is the catalyst, right? Like the other problems come later about scaling and figuring out how to get away from the business and, growing it. But just getting going a lot of times for some people is one of the big things. Like, how will I even get over there? Like, like being busy is a good problem to have, right? So tell us a little bit about that, because it seemed like it clicked for you right away because you had that construction background. And when you said bathroom and dumpster, I thought of I interviewed a brand not too long ago, and it was they focused on clean, recyclable kitchen oil. And the kitchen staff loved it. It was like everything. It was just the most common sense, like non-sexy. You don't even, but it was an incredible business model because if you talk to any restaurant about it, it was really hard to say no. It was more about awareness most of the time. So tell me about this approach. Like, what was it about the brand that the brand's approach to this and their innovative product design? I mean, anything you can share that it's little things that remove that resistance and make your job so much easier. So what could you share? Maybe Sean, you could chime in on how you guys approach it, or either one. But tell me a little bit more about that initial sales and marketing process.
Yeah, sure. I can weigh in, and then Sean, if you have anything to add. But it's kind of a crazy thing, and homeowners will tell you, like, you'll drop a dumpster off and the homeowners will be like raving about this idea, this dumpster and toilet. And they find themselves being like, wow, this is weird that I'm so into this dumpster and toilet. Like, what is right? It's like, this is weird that I'm talking about this so much. Who cares about a dumpster and a toilet? But like the response from people is really quite remarkable. Contractors will call and just be like, I just drove by this dumpster that had toilets on it. Like, what? And they want to know more about it. So, you might hear different things from people within Redbox Plus. My opinion is that truly the dumpsters, the container itself, does a phenomenal job of selling for you. Right. First of all, you have so many of them. They're all out, like these big red billboards with your number right under it. And it's just such a unique, novel idea that people call immediately for that. Sean, I don't know if you had anything else about the brand.
It is, and that's all true. You have a giant red billboard rolling down the highway. You put them all over the place, and we get a lot of calls, right? Just from the numbers on the side of the dumpsters. But I was a franchisee for 5 years, not with Redbox, with another system, and in Pennsylvania. And I found that going out and talking to people and building relationships is really what drives business even farther, right? So I always preach to our franchisees, our new franchisees, go out and get the business. Don't wait for the phone to ring, right? Because, I tell them, look, you bought a dumpster business, not a Chick-fil-A, right? So you don't just open the doors and people line up for chicken sandwiches, right? This is a service business. You have to go out and you have to talk to people. And that's really what we preach. And it's usually very effective in most markets. Some markets are odd, but we have other strategies for those. But you get the word out. You just walk into contractors' offices. That's my favorite thing to do. You go to networking groups. You join community groups, right? Rotary or or BNI, things like that, or other local groups like that. And then you engage in SEO or in online marketing, and you put all that together. It's really a package, right? There isn't one thing in there that this is going to get you a ton of business. I mean, it all kind of comes together, and that's how we encourage our new franchisees to launch. Now, when you have a franchisee like Jess, right, who does everything right and offers excellent customer service, then you add in these really pretty dumpsters. And I did say pretty dumpsters because they are pretty. Then you kind of get the perfect storm. And it's one of the reasons why Jess is so successful. And the first time I met her, I said, "Hey, Jess, what do you attribute your success to?" And she said, "Answering the phone." And that, I mean, that's so true. I used to say the same thing with my business. We answer the phone and we say yes. And that's really that drives a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to kind of add on to what Sean was saying about knocking on doors. And this gets into kind of the uniqueness of the business model too, is like what I am getting back to the question you asked me way earlier, Rob, about like what attracted me to this business. Obviously there's the patented product, but also it's a high revenue, recurring customer base. Right. So you find those contractors, like literally, I pick up the phone, I make a cold call. Okay, now you're my customer. And now every week you're going to text me your 10 dumpsters. And all I have to do is drop off the dumpster and drive away. And then I have to pick up the dumpster and drive away. And that's it. Like, I don't have to go into your house. I don't have to make like a big, I'm really not dealing with homeowners very often. I'm dealing with contractors and their repeat business. So it's so appealing, obviously sales is a huge part of the business, but you put the effort into sales early on and it just, you have that recurring customer base fairly easily. So it's pretty unique.
Well, I'm sorry, but being a sales guy in my deep past and always will be truly a sales guy, I love that because you're right. It's those little things though. Like it's who am I reaching out to? How do they receive that message? Is it a unique message? Is there a lot of competition? How many times do I have to follow up? Like you're right. You would have to put some effort in, but once you build a base, it is very repeat. There's no reason for these guys ever to do anything else if you answer the phone, right? If you just show up. And so it's not complicated. So it gets back down to that business models that remove the resistance, right? And you also said a few other things in that too that I think are very important is that there's diversity, right? Like as a digital guy, I've always loved digital and tech, but now I kind of like it less, to be honest. I would say you don't want to put all your eggs in any one basket is what I would always say. So it's that diversity. And I also love that community connection about franchising in most cases, right? So you have that opportunity to go further. And Jess, I grew up that way too. Different kind of parents, but they were persistent and they challenged everything. And and I think I talk to my mom about that all the time. She is persistent. She's 86 years old and she'll get it done. But that diversity and that ability to drive the business further, and then also to have that understanding of how do I remove myself from it. That's the true path. What everybody wants is the ability to build a business like that eventually, right? We don't want to build a job. We want to build a business. And so you're describing what has so elegantly been put together for a dumpster business, the perfect business model, right? Hidden behind the dumpster. And by the way, the dumpsters are pretty cool, right? They will get your attention. I loved all that. So tell me a little bit about the community side though. I know a lot of times as a local business owner, that's the other part of it. You will meet some of these contractors. They are business owners. You guys are impacting the community around you. Tell me a little bit about not only just the networking side on the business side, but is there other things that you look at to outreach or just ways that you can connect with the community that you didn't find before that you now have as a business owner?
Yeah, sure. So, we do we do some of this stuff. We do the Yardley Christmas parade and we do the Touch a Truck in Falls Township. And we certainly do that, and that's always really fun. I think one of the things I found, and this is goes across any business, any small business, is like the valuable relationships I've built are the ones that are not necessarily referrals to my business, but people, right? So through my business network, I now have a tree guy, right? Who, when I damage somebody's tree, he's out there that day fixing the tree. I have an asphalt guy who's out there doing the asphalt. Like, there's, you just build this network of people across. It's kind of remarkable, like across all the different trades. And so you get really involved in the community that way, which is fun.
Yeah, no doubt. And as I said, that is a heck of a way to build stability. You talk about security. You have a network of people around you. You have a diverse business, lots of streams of income, and great people I'm sure, on your team, right? So like you're building a lot of things here that give you that stability that I think you probably were wanting. I don't know. If you keep buying territories and all that, you might never get away from that feeling, but maybe that's what drives you. But that's okay too. Some people are like that. That's what makes them amazing. And it's okay. That's why people like me can benefit from the world around me. All you hardworking entrepreneurs, right? But it's really exciting to talk about this stuff. So let's just talk about I want to be clear about, so we kind of talked a little bit about removing the resistance sort of in the business model. It's like, this is in demand. This is unique. It's clear to the customer that they want it, right? You did that. What other innovations would you like when you were talking through this? I know there's other players in the space, right? How do you look at those other players? When those questions come up, what would you say is the short answer on the comparison of how you guys are maybe a little more innovative, I won't say more. I just say you're innovative in a different way. But what makes you unique? Maybe comparing some of those other brands in your space.
Yeah. I know Sean has some answers he says to this sometimes. So Sean, if you want to go, but.
Yeah, sure. I think at first blush, you think, well, you have a dumpster with two toilets attached. That's really what sets you apart, right? Nobody else has it. It's patented. But really what sets us apart is customer service, right? In the dumpster industry and the waste management industry in general, customer service is generally very poor. We hear from contractors all the time. I use one of the big guys, and if I need a dumpster, it's a 2, 3, 4, 5 day wait. And sometimes I need a dumpster picked up, emptied, and returned, and I wait for a couple of days. That really slows down my job. Well, what we guarantee is 24-hour response. So if you call today, 99.9% of our franchisees will say, yes, we can get you a dumpster tomorrow. And many of them will get you a dumpster the same day, which, if you're not in the construction industry, may not sound like a huge deal. But then when you realize that in construction, time is money, and you're a schedule, if you're a general contractor or you're a subcontractor, you have a deadline to keep. If you can't do your work because your dumpster is full or you need one and you can't get it picked up or delivered, that impacts the entire job. So I think that really sets us apart from the industry, and sure, there are other dumpster franchises out there. But we are the only ones who do the customer service, top-notch customer service, as well as have the elite dumpster, which is our 20 and 30 yarders with the two toilets attached. But we also have standard dumpsters. So, if somebody says, I don't really need, the toilet, can you offer me something else? We can say, sure, absolutely. We have all different sizes of standard containers that we can bring out as well. But, and often we'll get resistance at the beginning. Well, I don't need a toilet. Say, well, why not? Do you use toilets on your job? And roofers are famous for this. No, my guys just find a place to go. You're like, well, if they're not driving down the street or going in the bushes, right? It looks a lot better for you. Keeps them on the job, right?
Maybe a little time too, if you got to take too many steps finding a private place.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Or you make the neighbors angry, or
So bad reviews. Yeah. Saves you the bad reviews for sure. I have something to add too, Sean, to that, because this might sound kind of like a contradiction, right? But another thing that drew me to this business and how I run my business is like, from my construction background, I know how little people care about dumpsters, but how critical they are to the job, right? So like, if they don't have the dumpster when they need it, the job shut down, right? It's like pretty simple, but it's like the last thing on their list, right? They're dealing with so much stuff that it's like, oh, I just need a place to put the trash, right? So when it comes to my philosophy on customer service and how I kind of train my office staff, it's like, they don't have a lot of time. They are so busy. Like contractors are some of the busiest people in the world. And they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And like, they're just calling, they just need the dumpster. Like, and so just get their info and hang up the phone. Like it's, pick up the phone when they need it, get their info and hang up the phone and be done. Like it's really a simple process, and be as quick as you can, and get them what they need. That's what they care about.
And I hear you say all that. And I would say the phrase customer service isn't enough, right? Like you're not giving yourself justice for what you're saying. Cause to me, as simple as that is, it is a business driver, right? Like as a Wharton person, you'd be like, well, you're probably losing more money because your dumpsters are delaying you and you're losing, 30 days a year, like are being delayed. And gosh, right? The impact could be significant for such a simple workflow sort of process thing, but it requires that you understand that on your side. So you're always responding quickly. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can be the 24-hour turnaround, so to me, that's a business driver. And you're right. They don't have the time. I say that about technology too. It's the same sort of thing. It's like the customers, you have to set them up for success, right? You have to put them in a situation that works for them, right? Usually they have very little time. More done for you would be better, right? Done with you, do it yourself. I don't know, right? But definitely done for you helps busy contractors. But you have to be thinking of it for them, right? They're not thinking about it. And if you're just taking orders, you're not thinking about it. And now we're losing money. And yeah, it's beyond just being frustrated or customer service. It's like really helping them run their business better. So
Yeah.
I thought that's
the layer on top of that then, Rob, is that like, because these people, right? Because as long as you're getting the dumpster there when they need it, they're not really thinking about the dumpster. Like truly, it's like they're thinking about the job and all the work and headaches that come along with that. And so they're not really thinking about the dumpster. So I have found that most contractors aren't like shopping around and looking to switch dumpster companies. So, like once you're in, I mean, my retention rate is really high on my contractors. I don't find that they're often saying, oh, let me go and look other places for dumpsters,
For me personally, whenever I deal with someone that understands something that's that important to my business, I would never change. Even if you didn't, I would probably still never change. It would be back to that. I don't have the time, right? But you're just giving them no reason to ever leave. So that's an amazing, KPI would be retention rate. Mm-hmm. And again, back to what makes the sales process, the marketing process a little bit easier. All of these things working together, right? The billboard, the referrals, the reviews, right? The network with the customer, but the customer never goes away. It does build for itself. And I think that's a big sign. But if I were asking you, Jess, like you're a pretty smart person based on your background, and I shared a little bit of it, right? If someone else is thinking, well, do I need to be that person to do this business? Like, what do you think? And Sean, maybe you can share a little bit about who are you looking for typically? Like if someone would be interested in something like this, what kind of individual are you looking for? Obviously we have one on the show right now, but like what else? Obviously you have a diverse network.
Sure. I mean, of course, we're always looking for Jess Bisher clones because she's smart and she gets it and she understands how to run a business. But we're looking for a high propensity for success. Someone with a really entrepreneurial spirit. They're not there to buy a job. During the Fran Dev process, when a potential franchisee says, "Hey, how much money can I make in this business?" Well, that's pretty much a red flag. That's not the person that we want. Sure, you can make money at it, and you can talk to our franchisees who do make money at it. But really, we're looking for somebody with that entrepreneurial spirit who understands their numbers, right? Who isn't going to manage their business with their checkbook and say, "Well, I must be making money. I have $30,000 in the bank." Well, what does your P&L say? What, do you understand the numbers? Do you understand how to derive KPIs from that? Do you understand how important that is? And understands financial management and understands marketing and sales, understands that if, you stop selling, your business is going to die in the beginning, right? So once you build a customer base like Jess has, you can take the foot off the gas a little bit because she's probably at capacity, right? But you have to understand in this business that you're going to have to sell and you're going to have to scale it, right? If you think you're going to have one truck and 40 dumpsters and you're going to make $2 million a year, well, you got another thing coming. This is a business that you have to scale. And it takes reinvestment. And Jess understands that. And our good franchisees understand that. So that's really what we're looking for. And someone we can get along with as well, right? Because when you're hiring somebody for a position, right, you don't want to be working with somebody who rubs you the wrong way. We don't, our franchisees and I don't have to be best friends, but, somebody who has business sense and who we can get along with.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's face it. Yeah. There's a lot of personalities in the world, right?
There are.
And, sales and marketing is obvious, right? About any business. What I think is so unique in what you described to me is when you remove, again, I've had really tough sales gigs, right? Like it's not easy to make this happen, right? And I can recognize when it's an easier conversation, right? It's still hard to get a hold of people and get them to focus. That's a part too. But I think the sales and marketing model is there and the path to scalability is there, which is not always the case with a business model. So very well thought through this model is. So, all right. So Jess, your goals for the future. Tell us a little bit about how does it look for you? You got Montgomery now, probably building that out further. But what else? Is that kind of cool? You think you might stay there? Do you have bigger visions for your future?
Yeah, and we do also go into parts of Chester and Delaware counties as well, Rob.
Okay.
So we do have a pretty wide reach there. Long-term goals are a work in progress for me. There's just so many ways you could go, right? There's so many paths to go in this business, right? Do I blow this up to 15 trucks? Do I sell the business? Do I add a business down in Florida, right? So I can spend time in Florida, right? There's so many different paths for me. I do know my short-term path is really a focus on my people and my culture. You don't have to have a Wharton degree or, an engineering degree, whatever, to run this business. Back to your question, there's fundamentals you need to focus on, but it's not easy, right? So when I grew my business, I hit a point where I was like, I have to hone in 100% on my sales, period. And when other things come up, I have to put them to the side in a separate box to deal with later. I literally need to put them in a box and close the lid and push it aside, and I need to sell. And Rusty, who owns the Belfour franchise group here, runs the Belfour franchise group. I remember talking to him and he said, sales cures all sins. And I clung to that for a long time, right? It was like, when things came up, I said, sales cures all sins, and I'm going to sell and sell and sell. And it was great. And now I haven't sold for a very long time, right? But what happens when you're so focused on one thing is there's, you still this business that's growing and you're adding trucks and new people are coming in and leaving. And so, all I know is right now, my short-term focus is on really building that culture and building a place that's really supportive of my people. And so that's my short-term goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I was just thinking, of course, family is so important, right? But so everybody's family, really, you've got to treat everybody good, right? I think sometimes there's a disconnect there, right? With business and our personal lives. And I just think there's now a spillover. I don't 9 to 5 anymore. I feel like everybody's my friend there's obvious expectations. I But yeah, you should. I'm glad you said that. And I find that franchising is like that. It is why I like talking about it. I feel like the success rate is very high. Franchisors are very supportive. During COVID, it probably was the most unbelievable thing. I interviewed, I don't know how many people through that span. It was about 6 to 9 months. It was just innovation after innovation after innovation, and everybody working together. It's like we're a family. So I thought, man, like what business owner wouldn't want that? Like, like when you're all by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, the
So,
collaboration is amazing. Like, and I want my ops manager to interact with the Lehigh Valley ops manager. And I want, my office, like I want my people to feel like it's not just you're working for me and my small company, but you're working through, with a national group of people and we're all in the same boat. And, that's really cool. It is, I will tell you this, it's a hard business to run in that, in terms of this team building and culture, right? Because a good selling point for when I hire people is like, look, you get your own truck. You come into work, you hop in your truck, that's your office for the day. You do what's on your task list for the day on your tablet, and then you're done, right? You're not interacting with people. You're not sitting in a garbage truck next to 3 people, side by side. It's your own thing. But in doing so, my drivers are very siloed, and I actually run my drivers out of 3 different locations, and some of them start at different times, right? So it's not easy for me to be like, let's all get together and have a team meeting, and my deliveries are all very morning time sensitive, right? And then my drivers end at different times of the day. So it's built this like, it's just built this, my drivers are siloed, and it's hard to sometimes pull together and get consistent messaging in a way that's really meaningful. Yeah.
so thoughts on, so that's exactly what I love about it. The problems don't stop. Like they come at us, right? The franchisees in different markets. And so that's interesting that you frame that. So real quick, what are your thoughts on solving? Is there anything that came to mind? Anything? But guess what? You've got X number of partners that know exactly what you're dealing with that could give you input, right?
Yeah.
So, but tell me a little bit of how you would approach solving the problem, or how would you? It sounds like you're in the middle of it right now.
I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the thick.
Yeah.
I've tried some stuff. I've introduced Slack as a way to try to pull people together, and a communication platform. But they're driving all day, right? And they're drivers who aren't super tech savvy, and there's things like that. But here's the life and business is so much simpler than we make it, right? Like there's not a smart solution, right? It's like the answer is you need to get people together, period. Right. And as I grew my business, I left zero capacity for any of that. And now that I'm in a more stable spot, I can now say, I'm going to make very intentional decisions to get my people together. And that means I'm going to lose money. I'm going to not deliver dumpsters during that time. Right. So some of it's just like you hit a point of your business where it's like, okay, now I'm just going to intentionally say no. I'm going to say no to work, and I'm going to get my people together and focus on that.
I love it. You're right. Sometimes it's just about, I got to get that result, that end thing. I need to get to that, not the steps in between, right? Focus on the end thing and get there. Sometimes you got to go back and look backward and say, what did I do? How did I get here? What worked? What worked about that? But anyway, so Sean, I want to get back to you on like, I want you to answer this your way. I'm going to give you 2 options. One is the 5-year sort of view. Like, what do you see as being something kind of cool? Where's things going? And that might just be, we're going to keep doing what we know people want, right? I think Jeff Bezos was asked the same question once. And so I know people want their stuff fast, and that won't change in 10 years. So we're going to keep focused on that. So like that. So that was the first option. The other one would be, can you tell me a story about a franchisee or something you're proud of that happened in the brand, and maybe an overcoming story or something cool in the community that happened? One or the other. I'll give you one. Pick one. Because we only have so much time. So
they're both great questions, absolutely. But I have to brag. Jess, her neighbor, right there in the Lehigh Valley. It's a husband-wife team, and they do just an amazing job. And I think Pennsylvania is one of the best places in the country to do business. It just is. That's where I had my business. Love that state. But I want to tell you about a new franchisee who bought an existing business in Southwest Florida. And he came in, he had a sales background. He was a sales trainer, and he bought an existing business that was doing fairly well. But in Southwest Florida, Fort Myers and Naples, that area is exploding. If you've ever been there, I mean, they're just building and building and building and tearing down and building more stuff. And it's really opulent. It's a super rich neighborhood. So this our Brian, our new franchisee, comes in and buys an existing business, and he doubled his revenues in 4 months. And he did that by picking up the phone. He looked at the old owner's customer list, identified which ones weren't customers anymore, called them, and said, "Hey, I'm the new owner. I'd like to come talk to you about why you're not using us anymore." And just by doing that and delivering great customer service, he doubled his top line in 4 months. And he continues to drive the business. And he actually lives in a different state. He lives in Kentucky. He travels back and forth. He has a good friend that's there. When he's not there, he hired a salesperson. So he understands that he can't do everything himself. So he's built the team right out of the gate. And obviously, it's working really well for him. And we actually just featured him on a recent town hall meeting we had, just talking about his story. So I'm really proud about what Brian's doing down there in Naples, Florida.
Right. I wish people would listen, right? It's like, I just hear that simplicity, and it really, that's what I struggle with too. Like, it seems like whenever I'm involved in something where I'm consulting someone, I get down to that lowest common denominator. I'm like, I know that works. Just go do it. But I can't do it. I can't do it for 100 people. Like, and it's you don't always get to go back and see or hear the story, but that's just an example of you just do the common sense thing, right? Like, call the old customer, find out why, because you have the right offer. It's the right offer. It had to come down to some blocking and tackling somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
So customer service, right? So anyway, very cool stuff. Like I said, very clear. So I want to just wrap up. I wanted to ask Jess if she just wanted to leave anyone with a piece of advice, right? Maybe a simple piece of advice if they're thinking about getting into franchise, just in general. And Sean, if you had any closing words and wanted to share the website and how people can get a hold of you guys, that would be great. So I'll start with you, Jess.
Yeah. Advice I would give, I'm not sure I'm the best advice giver. I fly by the seat of my pants a lot, but the advice I give if you're considering franchising is really think deep and hard if you would start a business without a franchise support system, right? Because the franchise support system is amazing and it gives you so much, but there's no such thing, in my opinion, as like a business in a box, right? Nobody's going to do it for you. So you really have to look deep and hard. Like, am I the kind of person that's going to run a business, run my own business? Right. And if the answer is yes, then it's like, great, then franchising might be a helpful tool for you to use to get into business ownership.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a quicker path. And if you want to reduce the risk, kind of mitigate, like you had said, right? And it took like 4 kids, right? For you to say, I shouldn't take any risks, right? Yeah. You're a risk taker. You're right on the edge of franchisee, start your own franchise, which is all good. I like both of you. And maybe you will, because there's been plenty of franchisees that have eventually done that. Sean, tell me a little bit, like maybe some advice, and also how can people get a hold of your team, and especially if they want to learn more about your industry or your model?
Sure. Franchisees, if you're looking to buy into a franchise, it's hard work. Owning a business is hard work, but it is so worth it. As a former business owner and a former franchisee, it wasn't easy, but it was amazingly rewarding, just not only from a financial standpoint, but just from an accomplishment standpoint. So I would say if you're looking to get into franchising, being a franchisee, it's a fantastic way to build generational wealth for sure. If you put the time in, and Jess said it, there's no business in a box. I mean, we're in the business of selling big metal boxes, right? But there's no business in a box. It's your business, and I always tell new franchises, we're going to do everything we can do to help you be as successful as you want to be. Right? We can't make you be successful. Right? That's up to you. We will come alongside you, and we'll provide tools, we'll provide advice, we'll, pull in all the different opinions and experiences from the network and bring those to you. But in the end, you have to do the work, right? But we're going to support you all the way through it. So if you want to learn more about our business, redboxplus.com, of course, you can look us up on Facebook. We have an Instagram. We tried TikTok, not sure how that's going. But we try all those channels and Instagram as well. And we have a fantastic franchise development department. You don't just call up and say, "Hey, I want to be a franchisee." And we say, "Sign here." It's kind of like a dating relationship, right? There are plenty of times when people come to us and they have a big bag of money and they say, I want to buy. And we say, "You know what? This isn't a good fit for you. We don't want to see you fail." Right? We don't want to just bring you in to check off a box. We want to make sure that the fit is right. So we have an extensive franchise development and qualification process. But go to redboxplus.com, check us out. There's a look into franchising button that you can click on for a lot more information.
Yeah. No, and I love what was said earlier about, like, ask yourself if you want to run a business. I think there's thinking about that. What does that mean, right? Like, that's like leadership. It's hiring people, managing people. It's the buck stops with you. You have people. You said earlier, you want to take care of your people. You want to focus on your world there. There's a lot to that. Do you want to do that? Is that in your heart? Like that just, it should be automatic. Like, oh yeah, of course. That's what, or maybe not. I got a big pile of money though, and I want to return. And that's not always the right approach. But anyways, and I would also say, I say it every time, take advantage, reach out to Sean and his team. Great. I mean, again, business owners, business entrepreneurs really understand business and understand this industry. It's a business. It's a box. It's a business that is a box, but it's not a business in a box. It's a nice box. But anyway, great talking to you both. It was really insightful. Again, I always take away things every conversation. So thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're real busy, so appreciate it. And I hope to have you back again soon. And thanks to the audience for tuning in. Bye for now.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.